Hey, what's up guys? It's Gambit and welcome to part 2 of my looting guide aimed at teaching you how to maximize your profit while minimizing the amount of time you spend in your inventory. If you haven't already watched part 1, I suggest you go check that guide out first, as it will teach you essential game mechanics and keybinds that will speed up the actual looting process by at least 5-fold. In this guide, we'll be looking at the thought process I go through and specific procedures I try to follow when looting. I'll also be giving you extra little tips and tricks like how to pick up extra loot even when your inventory is full. As always, I work hard on these videos for you guys, so if you get something out of them, it would help me out a ton if you give the video a like, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more from me in the future. If you're looking for people to team up with or just want to talk Tarkov or hang out, join my Discord server. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitch, where I stream multiple times a week. You can get all of my links in the description below. So with that out of the way, let's talk about general procedures when looting. First, when you get a kill, don't immediately loot them. This isn't PUBG or Fortnite where looting can be done incredibly swiftly and you still maintain a decent amount of mobility while you do it. Anytime your inventory is open, whether you're looting or not, your character is unable to move at all. Take your time to check out the area to make sure nobody else is coming to clean you up. People spawn in with teammates all the time and one might be laying in wait. Even if they don't have a teammate, some people come charging when they hear gunshots, and you don't want to put yourself in vulnerable positions when you're not safe. So clear the area before starting to loot, or get someone to cover you if you have a teammate. Now there's two main reasons to loot someone. Either you want something specific that they have, or you want to collect their most valuable gear so you can sell it and profit. Now most of the time, unless an object is vital to your immediate survival or there's a quest item you need, you should always prioritize making the maximum profit. A gun you really like but is only worth 30,000 rubles is almost never worth taking over a trinket worth 100,000, for instance. After all, if you grab the trinket, you can sell it, buy the gun you passed up for it, and still have 70,000 rubles left over. Now, if your primary weapon is out of ammo, suddenly that 30,000 ruble gun becomes much more vital, so maybe in that specific circumstance you take the gun, but you see my logic here, right? That said, it's far more important that you loot quickly than you spend half the raid sifting through one dead body to make sure you're maximizing your profit. Opening your inventory blinds you and prevents you from moving, and you even make noise while moving objects around, which can be heard by your enemies. It also takes a moment to come out of your inventory. The longer you spend in your inventory, the more likely you're gonna die. So get in and get out. Don't dawdle unless you have someone watching your back, and even then, don't dawdle. When looting a container, there's only one box with so many squares in it, so it should be pretty simple to figure out what you should take. Almost everything you should control click on, unless it's something you can put on your person like a gun or armor, then alt click on it. Money and serious valuables you should put immediately into your secured container. Anything in this container will make it out of the raid, even if you don't survive. A dead body is far more complicated than a normal container. A dead body will have as many slots as you do on their person, plus a rig, pockets, and backpack. There's 5 types of enemies in Escape from Tarkov. There's PMCs, which are other players like you who choose their loadout before loading in. Player scavs, which can easily be identified when looting their body by their pouch icon, which is reserved for a secure container, which NPCs don't have. Then there's NPC scavs, NPC raiders, who are basically super scavs, and then NPC scav bosses, who are basically super duper mega ultra scavs. PMCs, player scavs, raiders, and scav bosses are a lot more complicated to loot than normal scavs are, as normal scavs tend to have very predictable loadouts and loot in their containers. With rare exceptions, a scav's tactical rig will only have ammo and magazines in it, and aren't that interesting unless you want their ammo. Their pockets might have ammo, grenades, or meds in them. They'll also occasionally have a lab's keycard, which is very valuable. A lot of players ignore the pockets of scavs, even veteran players. This means if you come across a scav that looks fully looted, it's worth checking the pockets just in case. Scav backpacks will have random stuff, oftentimes food and drink, which can be very useful in times of need. The other 4 types of enemies can be looted in pretty similar ways, so here's my strategy. Before looting a body, you should be fully aware of what guns you're wielding and what you're wearing, from armor to headsets to random clothes like a ski mask. Hopefully you're at least vaguely aware of what condition your armor's in. This way, when you loot a dead body, the first thing you can do is check their weapons and armor and already have a good idea at first glance if there's anything you want to swap out. The very first thing you should do when looting, though, is pick either the rig, pockets, or backpack and start searching one of them by clicking on it. You can move objects from body to body even while searching, so there's no reason to waste time. Start searching immediately. You'll notice there's a little tab that says search on it. Don't worry about clicking that tiny thing. Click anywhere on the grayed out portion of the container and you'll start searching immediately. Now, while that's searching, look the body over for their weapons and armor. If you see anything you like, either drop the items you know you don't want to keep or put them in your container for safekeeping. If you're a PMC not on labs and your gear is insured, you can commit a little insurance fraud and drop any items you've insured on the ground. As long as it's not looted, you'll get it back soon enough. This can be a great way to save space, although be warned, if you drop items directly on dead bodies, someone else is more likely to come upon it and pick it up. If you have the time, dump it in a bush or an out-of-the-way spot where someone is less likely to come across it. Again, though, don't make 20 trips so you can fully secure all your gear. here. This is how people get killed. The most important things to grab in the first second or two is your opponent's armor, especially if it's better than yours or yours is severely damaged. Only prioritize weapons if you're using something very weak or you're out of ammo. Once you've got armor, prioritize weapons, then headsets, then peripherals. If you do it fast enough, you should have this part done before the first container is fully searched. If you think you might want to pick up your opponent's rig or backpack, you can start dropping stuff in it, even if you haven't searched the container yet. If you're just wearing a crappy scav vest, for instance, and you see they've got a Blackrock, you can immediately dump the contents of your vest into theirs, even if their vest isn't searched. In fact, you can even put their rig or backpack on without having searched it at all. The only downside to doing this is you won't be able to access anything inside of it until you do search it. But in a pinch, it'll work. Keep in mind, you can also perform a variety of other actions while searching a container, from reorganizing your own inventory to packing a mag with ammunition. There are certain things you can't do, like using healing items, so get a feel for what is and isn't possible so you can do multiple things at once to save time. Now, for me, when it comes to other player bodies, regardless of whether they're PMC or scav, I prioritize searching the backpack first, then rig, then the pockets. The only exception is if I know I want their rig or I've taken one of their guns and plan to use it during this raid, then I'll examine their rig first, then their backpack. The reason for this is simple. The backpack is going to have the biggest items, which means sorting the backpack is going to be the most difficult. Even the most complicated rig only has a 2x2 slot, so the backpack is priority 1 for getting your loot as compact as possible. The pockets are composed of 4 1-slot items, and therefore will be the easiest to find space for. Therefore, for player scavs, my order is almost always backpack, rig, pockets, while for NPC scavs, unless I want their rig or ammo, I always go backpack, pockets, and then either ignore the rig or do it last. Now, it should be pretty intuitive that the more stuff you take, the more money you'll make as long as you survive the raid. What's maybe slightly less intuitive is that you should be prioritizing an item not on how much it's worth, but by how much it's worth divided by how many squares it takes up. Your jaw might drop if you come across a super high-priced assault rifle fully decked out that you know must be worth like 300,000 rubles. But let's say it's a huge 5x2 for a total of 10 squares, and your excitement, you might dump 10 random 1-square trinkets to make room in your backpack for this gun. But let's say those random trinkets are like dry fuel, each worth about 40,000 rubles on the flea market. Well, dry fuel doesn't look as impressive on the surface, but sold together, they'd be worth 400,000 rubles, which means you just lost 100K taking the gun over the other stuff. Worse, let's say now you continue along your way, get to the other side of the map, and you come across something you need for a quest and are forced to dump your gun for it. The quest item only takes up 2x2 squares, and now you've got 6 empty slots you could have had dry fuel in, but you chose to take something far bulkier instead. Therefore, take it from me, the smaller an object, the more valuable it becomes during a raid, as it becomes agile enough to be moved around to other slots, or if it's dumped, you don't empty out a bunch of space for it, but only as much as you need, thus maximizing your value per square. So in the above scenario, what I would do instead is take the most valuable items from the gun, say the magazine filled with amazing ammo, the scope, the silencer, maybe the flashlight. Not only do each of these items take up only 1 or 2 slots, but they're also malleable enough that they might be able to fit onto another one of my guns. Scav shotguns often have a mount that can fit up to 3 flashlights on it, all on one square. A flashlight by itself might only be worth, say, 8,000 rubles, but 3 of them plus a 2,000 ruble mount is worth 26,000 rubles together, all in one square. Better yet, if you can fit it onto one of your existing guns, suddenly it takes up 0 space, and you've just got a free 26,000 rubles. So dump items onto your guns whenever possible. Some guns, like the SKS or Vepr Hunter, you can dump the mag on it, and it will go from being a 2x5 item to a 1x5 item. You can't fully strip guns to the bones in raid, but you can usually take the most valuable pieces and dump the rest if you need to. Everything you can't remove will be darkened in your inventory, so it's not hard to know at a glance, but in general, you can typically remove mags, sights, and scopes, barrel attachments like suppressors, foregrip stocks, and mounted objects like lasers and flashlights. You can't take things like pistol grips, uppers, rails, and vital parts like that. If you've got a magazine taking up 2 or 3 squares, but you're not using it, but you want the ammo inside, as long as you've got a little time, you can dump the ammo out of the mag. This will take a little while as your character empties it 1 bullet at a time, and enemies can hear this sound, so be careful, but you can wind up condensing all the ammo for up to 2 mags sometimes, all in 1 square, which can be worth it if you've got the time. Next, valuable backpacks are worth committing what we call backpack inception upon. That is, stuffing a backpack inside of another backpack. Now, I only like to do this with particularly valuable bags. The biggest pro of doing this is backpacks usually take up exactly as much space as they contain, and some bags actually contain more space than they take up, although when this happens, some of that space is sectioned off, but still. However, if you're picking up a smaller backpack, suddenly you've got stuff inside of that backpack, and then just 1 or 2 rows or columns of space inside the outer backpack, which is much harder to put items in and Tetris around, especially guns. Also, even if the backpack is the same size, you can no longer just pick items up or control click them to get them inside the Inception backpack. These keybinds will only put items into the outermost backpack. To get items into the inside backpack, you'll have to manually drop them in. This can get complicated if you need to make room inside the Inception situation backpack is you'll have to open up your inventory, then open up that backpack, and then move things around. This gets even worse if you have multiple backpacks inside of each other. In my opinion, all of this just isn't worthwhile unless the backpack itself is worth a decent sum of money, or I'm confident in my ability to get out of this situation safely. Like if you wipe out all of the PMCs in a raid and only have scabs to worry about. I see some people doing this with tiny army bags or the duffel. It's just not worth the hassle for an extra couple thousand rubles. So only do this with the expensive bags or with bags of equal size to yours. The same goes for rigs. Expensive backpacks and rigs are a great way to add free value to your loot, as they can also take up less space than they give, and some of them, especially the armored ones, can be worth an awful lot of money. This is another reason to keep the items you pick up as small as possible, so that if you do pick up a smaller backpack or a decent rig, you don't lose any valuable items already in your backpack in order to pick it up. So up to this point, I've done a lot of talking about how you should do this or that in order to maximize value, but I haven't really given you any indication of how to know what is or isn't valuable. Unfortunately, I can't just download this knowledge into your brains. There's far too many items in Escape from Tarkov for me to even give you a simple rule of thumb. Certain items look very similar and yet sell for very different prices. For instance, there's 3 types of gunpowder in the game which sell for on average 12k, 25k, and 60k on the flea market. And while they're different colors, there's no indication in their appearance or description as to their value. In fact, the 25k one talks about how rare it is, which might get you to dump the 60k one in favor of it. So how do you learn this stuff? Well, there's just no magical answer here. You've got to play the game, grab stuff, and sell it on the flea market. Over time, you'll learn what's good and what's not. There are guides out there that will give you a list of all quest items and all hideout upgrade items you need, which is all well and good, but do you really want to pick up a hideout item worth 10k instead of a non-hideout item worth 100k? After all, the 100k item could let you just buy the 10k item on the flea market and you'd still have 90k left over. If you wanted, you could go through the flea market and study, and that would probably be fine, although the flea market can be volatile sometimes. But in my opinion, this is sort of a waste of time just studying the prices of items. In the beginning, just play the game. There's so much to learn, and to me, maximizing profits shouldn't be a beginner's goal from the get-go. Learn how to play the game first. Pick up everything, use my strategies above to figure out how to create as much space in your inventory so you can pack as much into it as possible. But if you come out of a raid and figure out you picked up a bunch of trash, I wouldn't really worry about that personally. You played the game and came out alive. That's solid. And now you know not to pick up such and such stuff because you know it's not worth much. Over time, you'll become accustomed to picking up only the best loot, and your profits will rise. Now that's all I've got for today. I hope this guide has helped you all out. If it did, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, and come follow me on Twitch. All my links are in the description below. See you guys next time.